There's a story we've been told since the first time we felt a pang of loneliness. The story of a missing half, a soulmate who holds the key to our happiness, who will see us, complete us, and make sense of our jagged edges. We've spent years, perhaps decades, scanning crowded rooms, swiping through profiles, analyzing every new connection for the telltale signs of the one. And what has this search brought us? For most, a quiet, lingering exhaustion. A cycle of soaring hope, followed by the familiar, heavy crash of disappointment. It has taught us to feel fundamentally incomplete, like a puzzle with a missing piece, forever waiting for an external person to make us whole. We've learned to mistake intensity for intimacy, that dizzying, can't eat, can't sleep chemistry, that feeling of faded recognition. We've been conditioned to believe this is the ultimate signpost, the universe screaming, "Here they are." But what if that overwhelming feeling isn't a green light? What if it's a flare, shot up from the deepest, most unconscious part of you, signaling not an arrival, but a profound internal crisis? What if that magnetic pull is actually a map, pointing not to your future partner, but to the undiscovered countries within your own soul? This leads us to a radical reimagining of love. What if the secret to attracting a deep, authentic partnership wasn't about finding the right person at all? What if it was about becoming the right person? Not a different version of you, but a more whole, more integrated version of the person you were always meant to be. Today, we are not just talking about dating advice. We are embarking on a psychological journey. We will provide a roadmap that transforms you from a passive seeker, waiting for destiny to strike, into an active creator, a magnet for the very connection you've been searching for. Your journey does not begin when you meet someone new. It begins now, in this moment. It starts with a single, honest acknowledgement. Before we go any further, I want you to go to the comments and write one word. Just one word that describes how this lifelong search for the one has made you feel. There are no right or wrong answers. Acknowledging the true cost of the search is the first step toward leaving the maze. Go on. Your new story is waiting. We all know the feeling. It's a phenomenon so powerful it feels sacred. You meet someone, and it's more than just attraction. It's a jolt of recognition, a magnetic, almost gravitational pull that seems to operate outside the laws of logic. They might embody a strength you feel you lack, a freedom you secretly crave, a creative fire you believe was extinguished in you long ago. It feels like destiny because it feels like you're meeting a missing part of yourself. The question is, why? Why does this specific person, out of billions, feel like they hold a key to your very soul? This is not the universe playing matchmaker. This is a profound psychological mechanism in motion. Your mind, in its infinite and often baffling wisdom, is projecting a film onto the screen of another person. Understanding this illusion is the absolute key to your emotional liberation. The real suspense isn't whether you will win their affection. It's whether you will decode the message they have arrived to deliver about yourself. The key that unlocks this entire mystery comes from the psychologist Carl Jung. He called it projection. But let's strip away the academic language. Imagine your unconscious mind as a vintage film projector, and stored in your psyche is a vast library of unmade films. Films about your own untapped courage, your unexpressed creativity, your dormant power, your unlived life. When you encounter someone who has a certain quality, let's say an effortless confidence, your mind doesn't just see them. It grabs the dusty film canister labeled "My Own Buried Confidence," threads it into the projector, and plays that glorious full-color movie all over their being. You are not falling in love with the person. You are falling in love with a vision of your own highest potential, which you have temporarily outsourced to them. This is why it feels like magic. You are literally gazing upon the most beautiful, powerful, and unrealized parts of your own soul, but you believe they exist only in someone else. Now, this is where we turn insight into power. We're going to conduct a projection inventory. I want you to think of a person you have felt this intense, magnetic pull towards. It could be a past love, a current infatuation, anyone. Take a moment and identify 3 specific qualities you intensely admire in them. Don't be vague. Is it their unapologetic honesty, their calm, steady presence in a crisis, their playful, adventurous spirit? List 3. Now, look at that list. This is not a description of them. This is a message from you to you. Ask yourself this transformative question. Where and how can I begin to cultivate these 3 exact qualities in my own life, starting this week? If you admired their adventurous spirit, can you drive home a different way, just for the sake of it? If you admired their creative expression, can you spend 20 minutes writing in a journal with no intention of anyone ever seeing it? This simple act is a revolution. It shifts you from being a passive consumer of their qualities to an active creator of your own. It is the beginning of taking your power back. This also explains the inevitable heartbreak. Why do these high-intensity, projection-fueled connections almost always end in disillusionment? The crash happens when the lights come up. It happens when the real, flawed, beautifully imperfect human being walks out from behind the movie screen. They have bad days. They have insecurities. They have annoying habits. And when the real person emerges, the film you were projecting flickers and dies. The excruciating pain you feel is not the pain of losing them. It is the psychological withdrawal from the drug of seeing your own idealized self. You weren't addicted to the person. You were addicted to the feeling of wholeness they temporarily provided. Realizing this, truly absorbing it, is the first and most critical step to breaking a lifelong cycle of outsourcing your own soul. Now, we must go deeper, into a more complex and unsettling territory. We understand projecting our ideals, our golden qualities. But why are we sometimes intensely, almost obsessively, fascinated by people who possess traits we consciously despise, judge, or fear in ourselves? Think of the disciplined, orderly person drawn to a chaotic artist, the gentle, empathetic soul mesmerized by a ruthless business person, the fiercely independent individual who finds themselves entangled with someone who is dramatically, almost helplessly, dependent. On the surface, this feels like self-sabotage. It feels like a moth flying towards a flame it knows will burn it. But it is not self-sabotage. It is a far more intelligent, albeit painful, strategy from your psyche. Your unconscious mind knows you will not willingly walk into the dark cellars of your own being, so it creates an irresistible attraction to someone who lives freely in those cellars. It wraps a difficult lesson in the irresistible packaging of fascination. It is a psychological intervention designed to force you to confront a vital, disowned part of yourself. The key to this riddle is what Jung termed the shadow. We mistakenly think of the shadow as our dark side, a container for all things evil. This is a profound misunderstanding. The shadow is the bag we've been carrying our whole lives, filled with all the parts of ourselves we were taught were unacceptable in order to be loved. It's not just anger and greed. Your shadow might contain your assertiveness, which was labeled bossy. It might hold your raw ambition, which was shamed as selfish. It can hold your righteous anger, your untamed sexuality, your wild creativity. The shadow is a treasure chest of repressed power and raw, vital life force. The intense attraction you feel to that problematic person is your psyche staging a jailbreak. You are drawn to their freedom to express a power you have kept in a cage. Let's make this real with the fascination repulsion test. Think of a person or a type of person who triggers a strong, visceral reaction in you. It could be intense irritation, obsessive fascination, or moral outrage. Isolate the specific trait that gets under your skin. Is it their arrogance, their emotional vulnerability, their unapologetic pursuit of pleasure? Now, take that trait and complete this sentence, either out loud or in a journal. My own capacity for the trait is something I have not yet accepted or learned to use constructively. Let's use an example. You are infuriated by someone's arrogance. The sentence becomes, my own capacity for arrogance is something I have not yet accepted or learned to use constructively. What could this possibly mean? Perhaps your disowned arrogance is actually your healthy self-confidence, your ability to own your worth and your accomplishments, which you were taught was improper or boastful. The work isn't to become arrogant. The work is to find the healthy, integrated root of that same energy within yourself. It's about reclaiming your right to take up space. So, does this mean you should pursue relationships with these people? Absolutely not. It means you must reframe their function. They are not romantic partners. They are shadow tutors. The relationship isn't the destination. It's the curriculum. The pain and frustration you feel is the tuition for the priceless lesson of integrating a disowned piece of your own soul. The moment you grasp this, you cease to be a victim. You become a student of your own psyche. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to show me? This shift is a quantum leap towards the wholeness we seek, and this brings us to an even deeper layer of the pattern. We've looked at projecting our ideals and confronting our shadows. But what about your type? Why do so many of us seem to be casting the same character over and over, just with different actors? You end a relationship with a charming but emotionally unavailable partner, only to find yourself, a year later, magnetically drawn to someone who is, yet again, charming and emotionally unavailable. It's as if you are a film director, holding auditions for the same role, stubbornly believing that this time, the actor will finally get it right. What is this internal script you are so desperately trying to cast? This is not a coincidence. It is a search for an internal blueprint. Jung called this blueprint the anima for a man, his inner conception of the feminine, and the animus for a woman, her inner conception of the masculine. Let's simplify. Think of it as your unconscious inner soul image. It's a composite sketch drawn from your earliest experiences with the opposite sex, often apparent, and colored in by culture, fantasy, and your own innate psychic structure. This blueprint is the hidden director of your romantic life, and that overwhelming feeling of love at first sight. It is the breathtaking, disorienting experience of seeing your inner blueprint perfectly, miraculously embodied in an external person. It feels like coming home, because in a very real sense, you are meeting a part of your own soul walking around in the world. If it starts so perfectly, why does the magic inevitably fade? Why does the initial adoration so often curdle into resentment? The friction begins the moment your partner dares to improvise. The moment their real, complex human self deviates from the perfect, two-dimensional character you've unconsciously cast them as. You cast them as the strong, silent provider. And one day they confess their deepest fears and insecurities. The script is violated. You cast them as the free-spirited, nurturing muse, and they decide they want a stable, predictable life. The script is violated. The profound disappointment you feel is not actually with them. It is with their failure to be your archetype. This recognition is a watershed moment. It's the moment you can finally stop blaming your partners for not being your fantasy. Here is the tool to make this your own. Blueprint deconstruction. It's simple, but its implications are vast. Take out a piece of paper. At the top, write "My ideal partner." Now, list the top 5 non-negotiable qualities that person must possess. Are they fiercely intelligent? Deeply empathetic? Wildly adventurous? Financially secure? Emotionally expressive? Be brutally honest with yourself. Do you have your list? Now, take your pen and cross out the title, "My Ideal Partner." In its place, relabel that exact same list, "My Personal Growth To-Do List." Let that sink in. That list of qualities you have been desperately searching for in another person is, in fact, a direct set of instructions from your own soul. It is a curriculum for your own development. You have been searching the world for a savior to bestow these qualities upon you, when all along, your deepest self has been begging you to cultivate them within. This is the profound payoff of this difficult work. When you take this list seriously, when you begin the journey of building your own strength, cultivating your own emotional depth, creating your own adventures, something miraculous happens. You cease to need it from a partner. The hungry, grasping energy dissolves, and for the first time, you are free to see and love a real person, not a projection. You are finally free to choose a partner, not based on a desperate, unconscious need, but on a conscious, resonant choice. And that is the only ground upon which a mature, lasting love can ever be built. Everything we have explored leads to one powerful, unavoidable conclusion. The journey to authentic love requires a radical 180-degree turn. It demands that you stop scanning the horizon for your missing piece, and instead turn your gaze inward, into the vast, unexplored landscape of your own being. This is the great pivot. It is the moment you stop asking the world, "Where is the one who will complete me?" And you begin to ask yourself, "How do I become whole?" In psychology, this heroic journey is called individuation. It sounds academic, but the meaning is beautifully simple. It is the lifelong process of becoming an individual, a whole, complete, and indivisible self. Contrast this directly with the soulmate myth. The soulmate myth promises wholeness through fusion with another. Individuation promises wholeness through integration of the self. One path sentences you to a life of feeling like half a person. The other hands you both the power and the responsibility for your own completion. A natural fear arises here. Is this just a lonely path of working on myself forever? Do I have to be perfect before I'm worthy of love? This is a crucial misunderstanding. Individuation is not a retreat into sterile isolation. It is the exact opposite. It is the work of building such a solid and generative inner world that you no longer engage with others from a place of emptiness. It is the difference between two beggars meeting on the street, each hoping the other has a crust of bread, and two gardeners meeting at the market, each with a full basket of fruit to share. The first interaction is based on lack and desperation. The second is based on abundance, generosity, and choice. The work of individuation is the sacred work of tending your own inner garden. So, what is the tangible, emotional shift that occurs when you commit to this path. It is the profound liberation from a relationship of need to a relationship of choice. A relationship of need is governed by fear. Its silent mantra is, I need you to feel okay. I need you to validate my existence. I need you to fill my emptiness. I cannot live without you. It is a prison for both people. But a relationship of choice is born from sovereignty. Its mantra is, my life is whole and meaningful on its own. I am okay on my own. And from this place of fullness, I choose to share my life with you. I can live without you, but I choose to build a life with you. This shift from need to choice is the very heart of psychological freedom. And as you do this work, something almost magical happens. Your attractor field recalibrates. The people you find magnetic begin to change. The high drama, anxiety-inducing connections fueled by projection lose their appeal. The spark you once craved now feels less like excitement and more like a fire alarm. In its place, you develop a deep appreciation for something quieter, more stable, a calm resonance. It's the feeling of meeting another person who has also been tending their own garden. You stop being a moth, frantically drawn to a destructive flame, and you become a planet, finding your place in a stable, life-giving orbit with another. We have explored the why. We've deconstructed the myths and illuminated the hidden psychological machinery. But insight without action is merely a pleasant intellectual exercise. Now, we must forge the how. This is not a philosophy to be contemplated. It is a life to be lived. This is the inner workshop, where you will begin to consciously build your own soul. This is about moving from understanding to embodying. The work begins where it is often most uncomfortable, in the dark. It requires you to become a detective of your own triggers. Instead of starting a simple journal, I want you to begin listening to your emotional reactions as if they were psychological breadcrumbs. That flash of anger at a colleague's comment, that pang of envy at a friend's success, that obsessive fascination with a stranger's confidence. These are not random annoyances. They are signposts pointing directly to a lost or disowned part of your own power. Follow the trail. Ask yourself, what is the hidden energy behind this reaction? What part of me is this situation asking me to reclaim? This is the real work of the shadow, not just logging it, but integrating its lost energy. As you begin to reclaim these fragmented pieces of power, you need a place to house them. You must become the architect of your own soul. Take out that list, the one you relabeled My Personal Growth To-Do List. This is your blueprint. Your task is no longer to admire these qualities in others, but to actively construct them within yourself. Pick one quality. If it's courage, your project for the week is to perform one small act that feels slightly uncomfortable. Speaking up in a meeting, making a call you've been avoiding. If it's creativity, your project is to create something, anything, with the sole purpose of pleasing yourself, not an audience. You are no longer waiting for a partner to bring you these gifts. You are building the very temple you once sought elsewhere. And how does this inner construction become a life? You must make your soul visible. This is not about self-promotion. It's about engaging in the world from a place of authenticity, pursuing your genuine interests, learning that instrument, joining that hiking group, volunteering for that cause, is not a distraction from the inner work. It is the final stage of the inner work. These activities are the channels through which your integrated self becomes manifest. It's how you broadcast your true frequency to the world, attracting those who resonate with your authentic signal, not with a persona you've constructed to be loved. This is not a project with an end date. The moment you begin this practice, you have already succeeded because you have shifted from a state of passive waiting to one of active creation. The reward is not a destination. It is the empowerment found in the journey itself. When you commit to this inner work, a strange and wonderful thing begins to happen. The world outside seems to respond. You'll be grappling with a problem, and the answer will appear in a conversation you overhear. You'll set an intention to develop a new quality, and suddenly, you'll meet people who embody it, or find resources that teach it. Is this magic? Is the universe suddenly rearranging itself to suit your desires? Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, or meaningful coincidence. But we can understand it in a more grounded way, as tuned perception. Imagine your consciousness as a radio receiver. When your inner world is chaotic, filled with the static of projections, unmet needs, and disowned shadows, your receiver is tuned to the frequency of randomness and confusion. The world seems arbitrary, but as you do the work, as you integrate your shadow, withdraw your projections, and clarify your core self, you are cleaning the connections. You are tuning your receiver to a much clearer frequency, the frequency of meaning. You are not changing the world. You are upgrading your capacity to perceive the meaningful patterns that were there all along. You are finally able to hear the music beneath the noise. This tuned perception has a radical effect on your relationships. As you stop projecting, your vision clears. You develop an emotional clarity that is almost like an X-ray. You can sit with someone and sense the difference between their authentic self and the carefully constructed persona they present to the world. You can distinguish the manipulative charm of someone who wants to use you as a screen for their own needs from the genuine, warm resonance of someone who is truly present with you. You stop falling for potential, and you start seeing reality. And if the frantic, anxious spark is no longer your compass, how will you recognize a connection that is right for you? The signal is entirely different. It will not be a jolt of anxiety that you mistake for excitement. It will be a feeling of deep, calm resonance. It won't feel like a drug you desperately crave. It will feel like music you deeply appreciate. There is no frantic need, and no desperate grasping for validation, only a quiet, profound sense of mutual recognition. It is the feeling of two sovereign beings, acknowledging each other's wholeness. What does this mean for the practical act of dating? It means you can finally put down the heavy burden of strategy. You stop chasing, performing, and second-guessing. Your actions become simple and authentic because they arise from your integrated self. You express interest because you feel genuine resonance, not because a rule book told you to. You attract, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You become a lighthouse, shining your own unique light, and you trust that the right ships, on their own journeys, will see it and navigate toward you. This entire journey, from deconstructing a myth to rebuilding a self, leads us to one final, beautiful vision. What happens when two whole people, two individuals, who have both walked this challenging path of integration, come together? This is the ultimate payoff. This is the dream made real. We can call this the alchemical union. Let us contrast it one last time with the soulmate model. The soulmate myth says, two broken halves come together to make one whole. The alchemical union says two whole individuals come together to consciously co-create a third entity, the relationship itself. This relationship is a living, breathing container, and its primary purpose is not comfort or security, but mutual growth and the continued unfolding of each person's soul. How is conflict, the inevitable friction of two lives meeting, handled in such a union. It is completely reframed. In a projection-based relationship, conflict is a threat to survival. The driving question is, why did you do this to me? It is a battle of blame. In an alchemical union, conflict is a tool for discovery. It is seen as a gift. When a partner's action triggers you, the question shifts from accusation to curiosity. It becomes, thank you. Your action just illuminated a corner of my own psyche that still needs light. Can we look at this together? Conflict transforms from a battlefield into a collaborative archaeological dig. So, is this the happily ever after? It is time to dismantle this final, most seductive fantasy. The alchemical union is not a static paradise. It is not a destination where the work stops. It is a dynamic, challenging, and profoundly meaningful path. Its beauty lies not in the absence of struggle, but in the shared commitment to face that struggle with consciousness, courage, and love. It is a shared dedication to the journey of becoming. We have reached the end of this map. The greatest love story you will ever live is not the one where you find your missing half. It is the heroic story of becoming whole yourself, and then, from the place of sovereignty and grace, choosing to meet another person who has undertaken the same sacred journey. This is the love you earn, not the love you find. You now have the map. You understand the terrain, but the map is not the territory. The journey begins with a single, conscious step. So, my final invitation is this. In the comments below, I want you to make a commitment. In today's journey, which concept struck you like a lightning bolt? Projection, the shadow, the inner blueprint. Share that moment of recognition, and then commit to one micro-action you will take in the next 24 hours, inspired by that insight. Your new story starts now.